of the year, we always get the questions about what should I cut back, what should I clean up, and what should I do with it. In a previous segment, we talked about doing that with ornamental grasses, so let's take a look at perennials and a handful of shrubs. First off, if it is a plant that wants to seed itself all over creation, you have to decide how much of that you really enjoy. Take this one, for example, which is hardy ageratum. This one was not planted here. It wasn't planted down there. It belongs up there, and it's just beginning to set seed. This is not really a plant that gives us good habitat over the winter, so at least deadheading or cutting back is a good idea. If you have plants that have flopped over dreadfully or fallen apart, either because you didn't cage them or because you have a creature, that's another reason to go ahead and cut them back. You also then have to make the balance, or take a balance between providing that pollinator habitat or habitat for birds or seeds or those kinds of things against winter interest and the beauty that you can really have provided with all those seed heads in a perennial garden. Our Liatris has actually seeded itself all over the place in our rain chain in only 4 years, but that's a good thing. The pollinators love it. It is beautiful when it's in flower, and yet we also can have too much of a good thing. So we are likely to cut back some of these large seed heads before they spread even further, allowing a handful of them to stand for the winter interest. Penstemon is also a plant that we look at and do some cutting back on. Penstemon is considered a short-lived perennial, so you really do need to let those penstemons seed themselves about a bit. Shell-leaf penstemon is one example. We have dark towers, which is a hybrid. We have some Husker red, which may or may not come true from seed. One of the mistakes that people make in cutting back penstemon is they will just take the seed head off, not take that stalk all the way down to the base. So go ahead and cut that all the way down to where you see the rosette of foliage. It tidies it up and cleans it up better. Fall is not the time to prune trees and shrubs, especially right now with the drought, with everything else going on. And that includes shrub roses. We get a lot of questions about, can I cut my shrub roses back now? You really don't want to do that. They are shrubs. If you need to take them down a little bit further, only take them down to about 18 inches and make sure that crown is protected. We have a lot of shrubs that also tend to look a little ratty this time of year. Don't do that pruning either, because what you're really doing is stimulating those shrubs to put on new growth when in fact what they're supposed to be doing is shutting down for the winter. So don't be too quick to take out those pruning shears and just take everything down to scorched earth. We want the habitat, we want the winter interest, we want the fruit, we want to be able to attract the birds, keep those insects happy over the winter months, and enjoy the beauty and not cause harm to those plants.